There was a time when milk had a face too. You knew which cow it came from. You knew the farmer's name. No barcode. No plastic cap. No 1.5% or ultra-pasteurized on the label. Just a metal pail, a glass bottle, and trust. Today, the same white liquid runs through stainless steel pipes, oiled, cooled, standardized, poured into identical cartons that never met a cow. This is the story of milk, from warm foam in a bucket to anonymous boxes on a shelf, and the farmers who faded when the system decided good enough was close enough. For most of history, milk didn't come from a brand. It came from someone. A family farm on the edge of your town. 10, maybe 20 cows. Named, not numbered. Bessie, Daisy, Clover. The kids knew which one kicked, which one was gentle, which one needed extra time. Morning started before sunrise. Frost clinging to the grass. Breath visible in the barn air. The farmer walked the same path every single day. Boots on dirt worn smooth by decades. Cows knew the sound of his footsteps, the rhythm of his voice calling their names. They came when he called, not because of fear, because of routine, partnership, a kind of unspoken contract renewed twice daily for years. Milking was done by hand, three-legged stool, metal bucket balanced between knees, warm flank against a shoulder. Fingers learned the exact pressure for each cow. Too hard, pain, resistance, kicks. Too soft, nothing flows. Jet after jet of warm milk hit the side of the pail, foaming, frothing, smelling of hay and grass and animal warmth. There were no standardized fat percentages. Only this cow gives richer milk in spring, and this one's thinner after calving. The farmer saw everything. If a cow moved slower one morning, if the milk looked slightly different, if the smell changed even a little, he noticed. Not from a screen, not from a report. From being there, hands-on, every single day. Milk was filtered through cloth, poured into glass bottles or ceramic jugs, sometimes still faintly warm when it reached her kitchen table. There were no weeks-long shelf lives. Milk lived a few days. You bought often because it was alive, bacteria, enzymes, time all working. Cream rose to the top overnight. You skimmed it off with a spoon in the morning. Butter didn't come from a factory tub. It came from shaking yesterday's cream in a jar until your arm got tired. Sour cream wasn't bought. In many towns, yesterday's milk was also the Milkman. When you left it on the glass counter bottles clinking at dawn, left on your doorstep before you woke. Yesterday's empties collected and taken away. Kids learned to recognize the sound of those bottles, the way they knew the jingle of an ice cream truck. You didn't buy a brand. You got your milk from him, the same route, the same face, year after year. If something tasted off, you didn't leave a one-star review. You mentioned it the next morning when he came back up your steps, and he adjusted or explained or brought you a replacement. The feedback loop was a front door conversation, not a corporate email form. Payment wasn't always cash. Sometimes it was eggs from your chickens, help with harvest, a repair on a fence, a loaf of bread your family baked. Milk was embedded in a web of small exchanges, favors, trust built through years. You didn't need to check the expiration date. You trusted the person. If milk ever went bad too fast, you knew who to talk to. Milk wasn't a category in a supermarket planogram. It was a thread tying families and farms together, week after week, season after season. Then milk didn't disappear. It changed shape, quietly, step by step. Cows moved from small barns to industrial sheds. Hundreds at first, then thousands in one place. No names anymore. Ear tags with numbers, barcoded, tracked in databases, not memory. Milking left the hands and entered the machines. Steel cups, vacuum pumps creating rhythmic suction, rubber lines snaking across concrete floors. The farmer's fingers, which once felt warmth, tension, health, were replaced by pulsing machines clamped onto dozens of udders simultaneously. Milk no longer went into a bucket you could see, smell, taste. It entered a closed loop, from cow to stainless steel pipe to refrigerated bulk tank holding thousands of liters. From there, tanker trucks the size of small houses carried pooled milk from multiple farms to processing plants miles, sometimes hundreds of miles, away. At the plant, milk from hundreds of farms was mixed together. No one could tell which cow it came from, which valley, which hillside, which farmer woke at 4 a.m. to collect it. Milk stopped being a story. It became an input in an industrial recipe. It was standardized, separated into cream and skim using centrifuges, then recombined in exact ratios to hit legislated numbers: 0%, 1%, 2%, 3.25% whole. Fat content no longer varied with the cow's diet, the season, the pasture. It matched a government definition, a corporate spec sheet, a label regulation. Pasteurized. In the early 20th century, pasteurization was sold as progress. Safer milk, fewer sick children, less fear of invisible bacterial threats. The trade-off was quiet. Heating milk to 161 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds killed pathogens. It also killed much of what made milk taste different from place to place, season to season. What ended up in the carton wasn't this morning's milk from that specific farm. It was a heat-treated, blended average of everywhere and nowhere. Sometimes ultra-pasteurized, heated even hotter, 280 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 seconds. Shelf life, months, not days. Milk that could survive shipping across continents, sit in warehouses, wait on shelves indefinitely. The cost, a cooked taste. No cream separation. Nothing alive left inside. Homogenized. Fat droplets broken so small they could never rise and form a cream layer again. The surface of the milk no longer changed overnight. It was engineered not to. Uniformity became the goal. Variation became the problem to solve. Dates appeared on cartons. 2 weeks. 3 weeks. Sometimes months for UHT milk. Milk no longer asked you to build a daily habit around it. It waited for you, indefinitely patient, on a fluorescent-lit supermarket shelf. The farmer's name disappeared. A logo took its place. A mascot. A marketing slogan about happy cows, designed by people who had never milked one. The small delivery route, horse-drawn cart or old pickup truck, glass bottles clinking softly, was replaced by logistics algorithms. Pallets, barcodes, warehouse management systems optimizing last-mile delivery. One processing plant replaced dozens of small dairies. One brand replaced hundreds of farm names that had fed their regions for generations. Farmers no longer negotiated with families. They negotiated with corporate buyers, with contracts written by lawyers. With prices set so low, they needed more cows, more debt, more antibiotics, more stress, just to break even. The work itself changed. From know every animal by sight and sound, to keep the line running and the quota met. From watch the milk, smell it, trust your gut, to watch the dashboard, hit the metrics, follow the protocol. The skills shifted from animal husbandry to equipment maintenance. From intuition built over decades to compliance with standards written by committees. You can still see the ghost of the old system in the way some people talk about raw milk today. They chase it for the taste, for the story, for the feeling that something was better before everything was standardized and sterilized. They're not just buying different fat content. They're buying a different relationship with risk, with place, with the idea that food should remember where it came from. But for most people, milk is just milk. White, cold, cheap, forgettable. What the industrial system gained, milk everywhere, all the time. In every store, every neighborhood, every climate. Cheap enough that most people don't think twice about pouring it down the drain when it finally expires weeks after purchase. Predictable taste, predictable fat content, predictable safety. No more guessing if today's milk is richer or thinner than yesterday's. No more walking to the farm gate at dawn. No more worrying if the cow is sick. There are protocols, tests, inspections, regulatory agencies. Shelf life long enough to survive global supply chains, cross-country trucking, warehouse delays. What quietly evaporated? The link between a child and our cow. The knowledge of how seasons change milk. Spring grass makes it sweeter, winter hay makes it heavier. The skill of seeing illness in a herd before lab results arrive. Noticing a limp, a change in appetite, a shift in behavior. The idea that milk could taste different from one village to another, and that this difference was not a flaw, but a feature. The small farmer as a person in your life, someone you knew, trusted, depended on, became a statistic in someone else's quarterly earnings report. You still drink milk, but you don't know who's carrying the cost of keeping it that cheap, that uniform, that anonymous. You don't see the farmer who sold the herd because the contract was canceled. You don't see the land that became a subdivision because dairy couldn't pay the bills. You do and see the knowledge that dissolved when the last person who knew how to read a cow as moved retired without an apprentice. If this sounds familiar, it should. Milk went from local, variable, relational to anonymous, standardized, optimized. Office work is on the exact same conveyor belt. Once, your value was in how well you knew your herd, your team, your clients, your market. How you noticed small changes, a weird data point, a tense meeting, a shifting trend. How you adapted to seasons, crises, opportunities, one-off situations that couldn't be templated. Your spreadsheets, presentations, emails, decisions were like that early milk, shaped by context, by your judgment, by your particular pasture. Now, data from everywhere flows into common storage tanks. CRMs, analytics platforms, data warehouses. Tools separate and recombine it into neat, standardized outputs. Dashboards, KPIs, quarterly reports. Then another layer kicks in. Models that heat treat and homogenize everything into safe, smooth, ready-to-present summaries. Custom work becomes a template. Templates become automated dashboards. Dashboards become summarize Q4 performance for the board. Your name fades from the work the way the farmer's name faded from the milk carton. The system doesn't need you to know the herd anymore. It needs you to not slow down the pipeline. Next time you open your refrigerator and pick up a carton of milk, hold it for a moment. Look at what you see. A logo, a date stamped in tiny print, a fat percentage, maybe a picture of a cartoon cow that never existed. Look at what you don't see. The person who woke up in the dark, the cow that changed pasture last week, the vet who caught an infection early, the small dairy that closed last year when a bigger processing plant opened 2 counties away and undercut their price. All of that is real. It's just no longer visible on the packaging. The same thing is happening to work that lives on screens. In a few years, someone will look at a polished, AI-generated report and see a logo, a timestamp, a confidence score, maybe a sleek interface designed to look trustworthy. They won't see that this used to be someone's entire job, that someone once stayed late to catch an error no one else noticed, that someone once risked arguing with a boss because the numbers felt wrong, even though the system said they were fine. Milk didn't stop being milk when the industrial system took over. It just stopped remembering the people behind it. Office work won't stop being work when AI handles more of it. It will just forget who used to stand there, hands not in a bucket of warm milk, but on a keyboard, doing the thinking the system now does faster, cheaper, and without a name attached.